Welcome to Blue Collar Sports Talk. Let's talk sports. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. Got Roger here. We're going to talk a little Husker men's basketball. We're going to talk a little Husker women's basketball. We're going to talk about some NBA teams, the top three in the East and the top three in the West. We have to talk National College Football Championship. Michigan. Washington. We're going to look at some NFL games. And we'll have some final thoughts. That might be hockey. That might be Major League Baseball contracts. Who knows what we're going to throw at you. Now, here's our show. Enjoy. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Blue Collar Sports Talk. I've got Roger sitting across from me. Let's get into Husker men's basketball. They had a fun, what was it, Wednesday? Yeah, Indiana. We were favored by 5.5, ended up winning 86-70. Tominaga had 28. That was huge.
Yes, they played very good. They played good defense, forced some turnovers, and they pretty much scored on almost every turnover they had. That's why they won by 16.
And we have four guys right now averaging double figures, and this is, I think this is kind of rare for the Huskers to have four guys averaging double figures. You've got Bryce Williams, Jawan Gary, Reineke Mast, and our what they used to call the Japanese Curry in Tominaga. And I guess I didn't realize we had that many turnovers on them, but that's awesome that we got that many points on all the turnovers. So we only had 8 turnovers, and that night Indiana had 19 turnovers. That's huge. So that's awesome defense. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Casey led the team in points that game with 28, I believe. And he was 4 from 10 from 3-point, but he was 9 for 15 for total, which means that everything that he took inside the 3-point line, he made. He was 5 for 5. You know, I mean, it's obvious he's a pretty good shooter. I mean, because 4 for 10 ain't bad. That's 40% from 3-point line.
That's really good.
So he can shoot, but
and 6 of 7 from free throw line.
If he's perfect from inside the arc, then I say let him take a step inside the arc instead of shooting threes all the time.
Right, and to be 6 of 7 from the free throw line, so he drove a couple times, got fouled.
Yep.
Excuse me. Yeah, the kid's fun to watch. Actually, the whole team's fun to watch.
Yeah, as a team right now, we're shooting nearly 80% from the free throw line, so that's not bad. That's good.
At 12-2, our Huskers do have a true test coming up on Saturday tomorrow. We go to Wisconsin. That's a 1:15 game on Big Ten Network. I'm excited. This is one of the few times that I've been excited about Husker basketball this far into the season. Usually it's like, okay, yeah, we'll get some cream puff teams and we beat them, but we're doing really good. I'm happy. I'm happy with our team, and I'm glad our kids are having fun.
Yeah, here's what was it? I don't know how long ago it is now, 8 years ago, when we had a team that won 22 games, but we didn't get into the tournament because our quadrant wins. And I think that might have been the first year they came up with that term, quadrant 1, 2, 3, and all the way up to 4, I believe. But we didn't have no quadrant 1 wins, and I don't know if we even had any quadrant 2 wins. So they claim we were on the bubble to get into the tournament, but it was like on the bottom of the bubble. So, yeah, we really didn't. That year, we didn't even really sniff the tournament. But yet we won, I think it was 22 games that year. So we'll just have to see how good the Big Ten is because, I mean, this all might not be for nothing. I mean, we might win 23 games and be left out because the teams we're playing ain't no good.
We're definitely going to find out. Wisconsin comes in ranked 21st. They're 10-3. We're also in the same area categorically speaking. They're averaging right around 75 points a game. We're averaging 78 points a game. And defense, we're almost tied. We are allowing roughly 66 points a game, and so are they. So this should be a really good test.
And where is it?
It's in Wisconsin.
Okay, so that might be a quadrant 1 game then, because I think it depends on whether you're home or away. And this is just, I'm just going to say this, but I think that if they'd be at home, the team you play has to be in the top 10 or top 15 for it to be a quadrant 1. But if you go on the road and play them, I think as long as they're in the top 25, I think it's a quadrant 1 win. But I think as the year goes on, that can change. Because if they fall out of the top 25, it might no longer be a quadrant 1 win.
Then that adjusts where their quadrant is.
So, but I'm not positive on that. But that's just the way I kind of understand it a little bit.
They have him listed as a forward, but that Mast kid from the Netherlands, he's 6'10". He has a great little soft touch when it comes to inside game in the paint.
Yeah.
And again, I am so excited about our Husker men's basketball team.
Yeah, he just came off of surgery. They were talking about that. And for him to play 30 minutes, because they didn't think he'd play that long.
Yeah.
So he played 30 minutes fresh off of surgery. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
So the Husker men have Wisconsin here, and that's Saturday. It is on Big Ten Network, so that's awesome that we get to see them on TV. And then just taking a quick look at their schedule here. Right after Wisconsin, we have Purdue, and that's Tuesday. That is at home. Purdue is number 1, and unfortunately, that's on Peacock. I say unfortunately because I don't have Peacock, and it bugs me that one more streaming service has gotten into the mix. So you have to, if you want to watch it, you have to pay for that. So,
yep.
Husker ladies. Husker ladies are also on a roll. They most recently, let's see, last night versus Wisconsin, they took on Wisconsin and won. We upcoming have Sunday, we're home against Indiana. That is also on the Big Ten Network. That's a 1 p.m. matchup. Once again, Markowski is doing amazing things. And a few games ago, we had 3 Lady Huskers with double-doubles. A true freshman, 6'2", Natalie Potts. Alexis Markowski had a double-double, and Jazz Shelley also had a double-double. So hats off to the Lady Huskers who are getting it done. Most recently, on the road, just last night, Nebraska won at Wisconsin 69-57. And we had Natalie Potts, the high scorer of that game. And let me see. I believe Markowski also had a double-double. She did. 11 rebounds, 13 points. And everybody played. That's good to see that everybody has contributed. A side note, I was a little sad to see Maggie Mendelson announce her transferring. And she's the gal who was the volleyball player, 6'5", out of Utah. When she finished volleyball, then she would switch over and start playing basketball. She has now decided she wants to transfer and only focus on volleyball. I really enjoyed what she did off the bench last year as a true freshman, and she graduated early. So it was interesting when she was playing volleyball, they said that she was, as a second-year player, still the youngest person on that team. So wish Maggie Mendelson all the best of luck. And again, the Husker women take on Indiana this Sunday at Pinnacle, and it's also on Big Ten.
Yeah, go Big Red.
I'm going to switch gears here. We're going to go to NBA, still staying in the realm of basketball. I am amazed at the top 3 in the East, and I'm amazed at the top 3 in the West. So what amazes me in the East is that the Celtics are ahead of the Bucks right now. But what is truly amazing is that the Celtics, Bucks, and the 76ers have all lost to Oklahoma City Thunder in the last 4 weeks. And they're sitting second in the West. So right now in the West, it's the Timberwolves top, They're 24-9. Oklahoma City Thunder are second in the West. They're 23-10. And the Nuggets are third at 25-11. Now, they have played the most out of all these teams. The Celtics are 26-7. The Bucks are right behind them at 25-10. And the 76ers are 23-10. So we have three teams just jam-packed, one on top of each other in the East and the West. This is before the trade deadline, so who knows what's going to happen. Did you like how they set up the early tournament mid-season for NBA, or was it just kind of?
No, I'm just going to say no. I didn't like it, and really, the thing I hate about it the most was the courts.
Oh, I hated the courts.
I hated the courts.
I don't
know.
I couldn't watch it. Yep. The courts, to me, the design of the courts took away from the play of the basketball.
Yeah. I will say the last few games of that tournament, it inspired them teams to play. I mean, the Lakers wanted to win it. You could tell. And the Pacers were playing good. But the other 16, 20 games prior to those last few games, I don't know if teams really cared. I think the Lakers took it a little more personal. They wanted to win it. But the Pacers, I don't know if the Pacers just were like, oh my God, we're playing good. Let's just keep it up.
The amount of money that they threw out there. But the other teams, I mean, like the Bucks, the Celtics, the 76ers, I mean, you think one of them teams should have been the team that won it. I don't know if they really cared about it, That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
The teams that you mentioned that didn't win it, in my thoughts were, well, we don't really care about it. I mean, yeah, we're going to play our hearts out, but we're more going to focus on the end of the year tournament.
Yeah.
But the amount of money that they threw at these teams to go to this tournament and win it was huge. So,
well, I mean, if you had some teams that were dealing with, maybe an injury. Well, if you're in the finals, you try to play through an injury. You do whatever you can to get out there. This tournament here wasn't that way, So whether teams took it whether that personal or liked it or whatever, I don't really know. But I do know that the Lakers wanted to win it. You could tell
they did. That money meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
As I looked at the three top teams from both the East and the West, I wanted to look at their away record. And right now, the teams that are at the top have amazing away records. Boston is 10-7 on the road. Milwaukee's 9-7. Philadelphia is 10-6. And then in the West, Minnesota is 10-7. OKC is 9-5. And Denver is 11-8. When you can win more than 50, close to 60% of your road games, that makes you really tough when it comes playoff time.
Sure it does.
And that's why I love looking at that.
Yeah. Yep.
One other thing I wanted to touch on for the Nuggets, the Joker, Nikola Jokic. He has had perfect games. And by perfect, I mean shooting percentage. So against, I believe, the Memphis Grizzlies, I'll say possibly the last week in December, he had a triple-double, 26 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 11 for 11 from the field, and he had one three-pointer that went in. He was also 3 for 3 from the free throw line, and this gave him his third career triple-double when he was 100% field goal percentage shooting. That matched Wilt Chamberlain. To be in the same category as Wilt Chamberlain, to have done it 3 times, I think that's huge. Now, other people that have done this, he also well, actually, let me back up. He has also equaled Chamberlain's shot clock era record of twice recording a 25-point triple-double with 100% field goal shooting. So it's not like he just had 6 or 7 points and was 100%. He had 25 points. So overall, it was the 116th regular season triple-double for Joker, for Jokic. That ranks 4th in NBA history. That's 22 behind Magic Johnson, who is at 3rd. And do you know who's number 1?
For triple doubles?
Yeah. Currently
Jason
playing.
Kidd?
Currently playing.
Oh, currently playing?
Russell Westbrook.
Oh, yeah, yes.
198.
Yes.
And then second behind him is Oscar Robertson with 181.
Okay. See, I would have guessed Magic had more than Oscar Robertson.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's rarefied air for the Joker, and he is still going strong. The Denver Nuggets are, let's see, they had an epic win last night. Did you see that? The Joker banked in a 3-point shot from about half court.
Over the Warriors? I seen that they were playing, but no, I didn't see any of it.
That's what won it. Basically, a 3-point at the buzzer shot banked in by the Joker.
Good.
Yeah.
Because usually that's Curry doing that to somebody.
Right. You should have seen Curry's face. And when that happened, he was just like chewing on his mouthpiece.
Like, I'm the only one that should make them.
That's my shot, man. So tonight they host Orlando, who Orlando is playing out of their minds right now. They're actually 6th in the East. So the Nuggets have a tough road ahead. They have Orlando. They have the Pistons coming up. And then they go on the road to Utah for a Wednesday night battle on ESPN. The other one that I mentioned in the West, OKC, I'll mention again. Since December 21st, the Thunder have beaten the Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Knicks, the Nuggets in Denver, and also knocked off the Celtics. That's huge, man.
I watched just a little bit of that Celtics-Oklahoma game. Watched the last 5 minutes of it or something.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is unstoppable, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good player.
He is definitely up there for MVP votes this year.
Yep.
And now the Thunder, they continue on the road versus Brooklyn. Then they go on to play the Wizards and a road matchup with Miami next Wednesday. So that should be an interesting matchup with Miami and OKC. The Timberwolves are on the road today. They go to the Rockets, who play some great defense sometimes. They're going to stay in Texas for a Sunday game against the Mavericks. I'm a little surprised with how good the Mavericks are playing. The Mavericks are sitting at 7th right now. They are 20-15, a little bit above 500. And the Timberwolves 4-game road stretch then takes them out east to Orlando, and they end up in Boston on January the 10th, of Wednesday. So we've got some good basketball coming up.
Does Dallas want Kyrie Irving to come back?
I don't know. I wondered that. Okay, so would you want Kyrie Irving on your Atlanta Hawks?
The guy's a great talent, but for some reason he just, I don't know. It's getting to the point where teams don't want it. I've heard somebody already say it about Dallas. They're like, maybe we want him just to stay away.
So
I don't know.
With the trade deadline coming up, and you see how well Dallas is playing without him, they're playing really well.
Yeah.
So what could you get for him? Like you say, that's a tough trade.
I would think you could get a lot. I mean, just think of one of these bottom teams that aren't playing well. You bring Kyrie Irving to your team, maybe your ticket sales go up 10%.
I bet they would.
So why not?
I bet they would. I saw an interesting, a sports writer said, hey, what if the Philadelphia 76ers sent Tobias Harris away? Because he's at that age where, we might be able to get something for him. Mm-hmm. And this particular sports writer said, what if the Lakers want to do it? And then they send Ui Achimara, I probably butchered his name, and then somebody else. I'm like, wow, that would be huge for the Lakers if they brought Tobias Harris over with LeBron, Tobias Harris, and Anthony Davis when he plays out of his mind. Good. Yeah. That would be tough. Yeah. I hope it doesn't happen being a Celtics fan, but if it did, that would be huge for the Lakers.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, I haven't heard too much as far as trade rumors go. Any other thoughts on NBA?
No.
Okay, switching gears. College football. I didn't get to see a lot of the bowl games. I saw some here and there. I thought the Alabama game was amazing. I thought that was a lot of fun to watch. And I'm surprised, one, Washington's defense has surprised me. Two, I knew Michigan is really, really good, and I'm glad that Washington and Michigan are meeting. Excuse me. So in Houston, Monday night, ESPN, 6:30 p.m., Michigan versus Washington for the national championship. Who comes out on top, Roger?
I believe Michigan comes out on top.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. I think they win, and I'm even going to say I think they win fairly easy. I do. I think they'll win by 17, 20 points.
They were favored a few days ago. It was 4.5. I'm trying to bring up where they're at right now because I'm interested to see if it's changed.
Yeah, it was 4 last I seen.
Yeah, it's still 4.5, and then the overs and unders are at it looks like 55.
Yeah, and I think that's about right because I think Michigan can get into the 30s. Washington probably score about 17 to 20.
Oh, it's went up. It's 56.5.
Yeah, so I think that's about right. I think the spread's a little low. Like I said, I think Michigan wins by 17 to 20. And this is where I'm going off of this is Michigan did not play very good against Alabama. Their offense sputtered a lot. Their special teams were terrible, and they still beat Alabama. How many teams can say that? Michigan cleans that up. They're good, and I believe they will, and I believe they handle business pretty easy.
I became a believer when Michigan topped Ohio State. I thought that was their true test. In my mind, that was the national championship game in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And now you get to play, now you get a second national championship with Washington coming in and Michigan.
Yep.
I'm wondering if this doesn't come down to the wire and potentially go to overtime again. Both.
I hope for a good game. I just, I'm just, like I said, I'm going off of what I think. I think Michigan's the better team, and if they can clean up their mistakes they made in the Alabama game, they're going to be rolling.
I think you're right. Looking at Washington's last 5, they had close ones with Texas. They had a close one with Oregon. They had a close one with Washington State, a close one with Oregon State, a close one with Utah. In Michigan, like you say, if they come in and play perfect ball, they will hold you under 20 points.
Yeah.
Like they did to Penn State.
Well, they held Alabama under 300 total yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good to hold a team like that under 300 yards.
Right. I agree. I think this is going to be an amazing college national championship.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the semifinal games. That Alabama-Michigan game went into overtime, and Michigan just 2 plays gave the ball to the same guy and just scored. So then they put the pressure on Alabama to score. And it was obvious that Alabama was not going to let that Milroe throw the ball. That they wanted him to win that game with his legs, and it showed on that 4th down. But my thing is how do you run straight ahead and see the hole close? And from the way I looked at it, he started to dive.
He did.
And I'm like, from the 4-yard line?
Right.
I mean, he landed on just inside the 3? He wasn't even close. He was 7-8 feet away from the goal line. I was just like, I didn't understand that play call. I mean, it's just.
How about this?
It was weird.
I think it was so weird that I don't think that was the play that was called. I think Jalen Milroe decided I'm going to do it myself, and I don't care what the play was called, and I can get it done no matter what, because he seemed laser focused. Like, I'm just going to take it inside and no one's can stop me. But
it wasn't a perfect snap either. And the last 10 snaps of that game, he was reaching for the ball down below his knees, up above his shoulder, off to the right. I mean, and then they mentioned it again. Oh, that was a low snap, but you're a quarterback. You should handle that. And he leaned down, he grabbed it, and then all of a sudden he kind of just looked and then just took off. And you were just like, okay.
Having played center in high school, that tells me that the center had on his mind, oh my gosh, I've got to block this big guy.
Yeah.
That was first and foremost. Wasn't first and foremost, I need to get a good, clean snap.
Yeah.
First and foremost in his mind was, oh my gosh, I got to stop that guy who's a beast.
Yeah.
And it rattled the center.
Yeah.
And I feel that contributed to Michigan's win.
And then are we done with Michigan, Alabama?
No, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, no, I'm just saying that I was just going to start touching on the Washington, Texas game too.
Go ahead.
Yeah. As crazy of an ending as I thought Alabama, Michigan was, that Washington, Texas game was just as crazy. Washington had a 9-point lead with a minute and a half to go. Texas elects to kick the field goal first and then try the onside, which they don't get. So there's a minute 40-something left with only one timeout. So if you do the math in your head, you're thinking it should have got down to at least 10, 12, 14 seconds, somewhere around there, before Texas touches the ball again.
Why did Washington do what they did?
And then Washington, instead of kneeling on it, they ran the ball, which even the announcers were saying, well, they better be careful because Texas is out just to strip the ball. Well, they didn't strip it, but the running back got hurt on third down, which forced Washington to use their final timeout. And then Texas has an option to whether to take 10 seconds off the clock because of an injured player. Well, of course you're not going to elect that.
Right.
So you kept the 10 seconds on. They had to punt the ball with 50 seconds to go. I'm like, well, I think Texas is going to get lucky and win this game.
They were close.
And then sure enough, third down, they throw it 30 yards downfield and catch it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
They were so close.
Oh, it was so close.
What an exciting finish. Okay, so I'm at work. I wasn't able to watch the entire thing. So I came home and I rewound it. I rewound it because I checked the score, and then in the game cast, I saw that Texas was close to scoring. I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Washington should have ran out the clock.
Yeah.
You should have had great clock management, and they shouldn't be able to touch it with more than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it took me back to when Leach was still alive and coaching at Washington State, and he would have a 2-touchdown lead or even a touchdown lead, and he's still throwing the ball or doing just something crazy. And you're like, how is that clock management?
Yeah.
How are you not worried or concerned that I should just really focus on trying to burn as much clock as possible to not allow them to be in this spot? That didn't happen.
No.
They allowed Texas to do what they did. And they were just
they were close.
Inches away from.
I thought the final play was pretty exciting because the defender who kept his eyes on the quarterback saw the ball coming the whole way. And he out-jumped the wide receiver, and instead of trying to intercept it and fight the wide receiver for the ball, he just slapped the ball into the second row like Dikembe Mutombo did in basketball. I was like, you don't see that no more. You see a guy trying to catch the ball.
Right.
And he just got up high enough, and he knew he had the wide receiver beat, and he just swatted the ball. And I was like, great play.
That was a great move.
Yep.
That was a great move. Any other thoughts on any of those games? Okay. That is going to take us into the NFL. We're in the final week. If you play the NFL, them adding the 18th week is a little controversial. It doesn't do anything for the players other than maybe give them an extra week to get hurt. It does give the owners a lot more revenue. But also the teams, just like any other year, the teams that are trying to get in, this is a huge week. The teams that already have everything locked up, they start resting people. So you have the 49ers resting a lot of people. You probably have the Ravens resting a lot of people. But there's a lot of games that mean a lot to a lot of teams. So I printed off so let's see here. I printed off some NFC and AFC. So the Houston Texans, they can get a South title win, which is weird. They're 9-7. Houston clinches the AFC South title win with a Houston win or a Jacksonville loss or a tie. And if they don't have to get the South title, the Houston win or the Houston tie plus a Jacksonville loss plus a Pittsburgh loss. And the Houston Texans take on Indianapolis Saturday at 8 p.m., ESPN ABC. So that's an interesting matchup there.
Yeah.
Because that has Houston having a lot riding on that one. And then let's see here. You have the Indianapolis Colts, who they play. They also are in the running for the AFC South title with their win, plus they have to have Jacksonville lose or tie, or the Colts have to win, the Colts tie plus a Jacksonville loss. So they can also still not win the South title with a tie and a Pittsburgh loss.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh, thanks to Baltimore probably resting a lot of people, have a decent chance. So if the Steelers want a playoff berth, they have to win, plus Buffalo has to lose, or the Steelers win, plus Jacksonville loses or ties, or the Steelers win, plus Houston, Indianapolis tie. I mean, there's just so many different scenarios that could go on. I'm not going to go on through all of them and bore you through all of that, but I want to talk about
the one I'll just bring up real quick is Buffalo.
Yes.
There's still a chance for Buffalo to be eliminated from all this. They lose to Miami, and all them teams can win, whether it's Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and then the winner between Houston and Colts.
And that's
if that all happens, Buffalo could be sitting at home.
Right. Sitting at home watching this. And I wanted to talk about this one, too, because the Miami Dolphins.
And Buffalo might be the best team in the AFC right now.
Yes.
They might be. And they're going to be sitting at home if that scenario happens.
So the Miami Dolphins, think about where they were 3 years ago, okay? They didn't have Tyreek.
Yeah.
All right? He was in Kansas City. Now, fast forward, and you think he might be the best player in the NFL.
Well, I think he's probably the MVP this year.
Well, yeah.
Well,
if he's not tied with Lamar Jackson,
3 weeks ago he was.
Yes.
Now, this last 3 weeks, he hasn't been playing the Tyreek ball he was playing. I don't even know if he's up for 2,000 yards anymore.
No, he wasn't. He had to sit out a game, I think, with some injuries. So, but he was at 1,700 yards.
Yeah.
1,700 yards. And that's sitting out a couple games and being hurt a couple games. So this is huge. So Miami Dolphins 11-5 take on Buffalo. This is a Sunday night matchup, 7:20 Central Time. So Miami wins, and they will clinch the AFC title, East title with a win or a tie. And Buffalo can clinch the East title with a win, but they have to at least tie. Pittsburgh has to lose or tie. Jacksonville has to lose or tie. And Houston, Indianapolis has to lose or tie. But any other scenario, and like you say, Buffalo's sitting at home.
Yeah.
The other thing about Tyreek Hill going to Miami has made the Kansas City Chiefs so one-dimensional. Why didn't they pick up another receiver to take all that pressure off Kelsey?
Well, you do. I mean, every team has professional wide receivers. I mean, I guess they probably thought that, Mahomes is so good, and he is good, and he gets the ball to him. They've just been dropping. It's just been a weird deal. I mean, and they lead the league in drops. Kansas City does.
That's a bad stat to be in.
Yeah, that's a bad stat to be in.
Oh, man.
Especially when your drops are balls that should be caught, I understand that if a guy's overthrowing you and you're getting your fingertips on it and they're calling that a drop. But no, Pat Mahomes is laying it in there and they're dropping them.
So since we're talking about Pat Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs, if things stayed even the way they are and the AFC playoffs started right now, the 6 seed Bills would take on the number 3 Chiefs. That would be an amazing matchup.
Yeah.
And even though it's at Kansas City, I still put the Bills in the driver's seat of that game.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah.
The way Bills are playing right now, they're playing good.
And their defense is stout. And all you have to do is focus on not allowing Pincheiro to have too many yards rushing and have at least 2 guys on Kelsey, and you win.
Yeah.
Well, okay, other thoughts on the NFL right now that you have?
Well, just the, I guess I'll just touch on my Falcons. They have a shot of being in this playoffs.
They do.
They have a shot of winning the South.
Yes, they do.
And that is terrible. That team is bad. I'm not saying the Bucks or the Saints deserve it over them because they ain't any better. But for the Falcons, if they can beat the Saints Sunday and Tampa Bay lose to Carolina, which I believe can happen, Tampa Bay's not good. Look how bad they played last week.
Tampa Bay's 8-8.
The 4 weeks prior to that, Tampa Bay was winning. But it ain't like they were beating great teams. But then they played the way they did against the Saints. Oh, that was terrible. The Saints are not a good team, and the Saints made them look bad. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Carolina beats Tampa Bay. Now Atlanta has to beat the Saints. They already beat them earlier this year. I don't see them beating them twice. I don't. But
right. So the Saints are 8.
The Falcons can be in it, and to me, that's just terrible.
Yeah, the South is crazy right now because the Saints are 8-8.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's 8-8, and the Falcons are 7-9, and all three have a chance to win that South title.
See, last week, if Tampa Bay would have beat the Saints, they would have won, which means that they had the tiebreaker over the Saints at that time. But now the scenario sits where if the Falcons beat Saints and Tampa Bay loses, I think there'll be a 3-way tie. But Atlanta will have the better division record, and that's why they get the tiebreaker.
I wanted to bring this up. So Dalvin Cook got released by the Ravens. I'm sorry.
Picked up by the Ravens.
Yep, I said that backwards.
Yes.
He got released and by the Jets. He went to the Jets thinking he was going to be able to play with Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
That happened. He didn't get to. So then they decided to waive him. And then the Ravens picked him up off waivers and are evaluating him on the practice squad. So there's a chance that they could also not want to move forward. But I think they do, potentially, if he picks up their offense. And with the Ravens going to the playoffs, do you think Dalvin Cook has an impact?
With the Ravens, maybe. Ravens are a running team. So, if they could just put in another running back here and there to run the ball, I think the Ravens did the right move picking him up. I believe so.
Now,
really whether he's healthy enough or in shape enough or to make that playoff roster, we'll find out. But if he does, then sure. I think he benefits the Ravens more than he would any other team because, like I said, the Ravens are a running team.
They are.
So
and they picked him up because as of right now, the Ravens have some injuries. So J.K. Dobbins, Ravens, injured reserve. Also running back Keaton Mitchell, injured reserve. And that's huge for the Ravens to have that many guys that are hurt in the running back and then have the ability to pick up Dalvin Cook to come in and potentially help you. So I think that's huge that could help the Ravens, who are looking right now to have the best defense in the NFL. I would hate to face the Ravens. Even though the Ravens aren't favored because they're sitting Lamar Jackson, I don't think their defense wants a loss, so they go in, and I think they handle business. So I think the Ravens...
Well, against a team like Pittsburgh that can't score.
Right.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on football?
I don't think so.
Okay. You had some other things that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. We just... we were going to talk a little bit about Ohtani's $700 million contract, which is the largest contract signed by I don't think it's the biggest ever. I think it's the biggest North American contract but yeah, $700 million, all deferred, which means he's not going to start getting paid until 2035. So
also the Dodgers, let's see, they've already done a couple deals. They've extended Glasnow, and they traded for him. They sent Tyler Glasnow from Tampa Bay. So all the things that Ohtani did with deferring that have really made the Dodgers that much stronger to go after other players.
Yes.
That blows me away.
Yeah, they should be around a long time. I mean, but the Dodgers have probably been the best regular season team the last, 6-8 years now. And besides the bubble year, or the COVID year, I should say, they don't show up in the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, it's just not them getting close and then blowing it in the ninth inning. I mean, they get their butts handed to them in the playoffs.
And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because just because you assemble some of the best players, that doesn't mean that you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to do this, but your Braves, your Braves in the last few years have had the best record, but then falter when it comes to matching up against the Phillies.
Yep.
And it's all about when you peak in the season. Yep. And the Phillies have figured out that we're gonna trickle in to the playoffs, but then we're gonna come alive.
Yeah. Last year the Braves had the best offense in baseball the last 100 years, and sure enough, it just I mean, I think when we did the podcast, I said, well, if the Braves can score 6-7 runs like they've been averaging in the regular season, they should win. Well, what did they average in them 3 games against the Phillies? 2? 1.5? I don't even remember what it was now. But they didn't score. All that offense and no scoring. Now, does Atlanta need to do anything in the offseason to make their offense better? No. I mean, what more can you do? They already did the best.
Right.
So you just go with pitching and you roll the dice and you try your luck next year.
Right.
You just hope that when the playoffs roll around, your offense don't do that again.
I agree. I don't think your Atlanta Braves team needs to do anything in the offseason.
Not on offense.
No.
Pitching, you can always.
Yeah.
Every team can use more pitching. But offense, what more can you do? They already did the best.
They were right. Yeah, they were hot. They were hot during the season. They just need to get that same hotness staying and going through the playoffs. Yep. I agree. Any other thoughts, Roger?
Just one or two things about the NHL.
Go for it.
Just watching the standings. The Oilers, Edmonton Oilers, are still on the outside looking in, which I think they can get up there. And Edmonton Oilers is a very good team, but they started so poorly, and the teams ahead of them, which there's a lot of them, are playing good. So they're making it hard on the Oilers to climb that ladder. But I think the Oilers will find a way to get in on, maybe on that 7 seed, 8 seed. But we'll have to see. That Metro division is a very strong division. The Rangers are leading that right now, which is good. Rangers are playing real good. And then, other than that, that Connor Bedard, Rangers were playing the Blackhawks last night. The kid's 18 years old, 210 days, I think they said. And they just announced that he got elected to the All-Star game. He's the youngest player ever to get elected to an NHL All-Star game. So, pretty impressive.
I'm wondering if Chicago builds around him or they send him away. Because right now, Chicago is sitting in the cellar.
Yeah, they're not a good team.
No. And I get it. You draft great players and hope to build around them. But also, at some point, after a season or two, and maybe do they get better? So in this day and age, no one has patience, I guess is what I'm getting at. And they want to win now. And that goes for the coaches, and that definitely goes for the players. So do you want to have a mediocre career? Or I shouldn't say mediocre career. I say, do you want to have a mediocre winning percentage and a great career? Or do you want to have an amazing career with an amazing team and potentially get to the playoffs? Because right now, Chicago's not getting it done.
No, they won't make it. There's too many good teams in hockey right now. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, if you look at the standings, and of course, hockey, you don't go by games ahead, games back. You go by points. And like I said, and I don't know exactly where it's at, but I know the Edmonton Oilers are sitting, I think, around 38 points. And there's 10, 12 teams that got 40 points.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I think Edmonton makes it because I think they're a great team. I think they get up there. But there's a lot of good teams ahead of them that are keeping them down there. So we'll see.
Like you said, that whole Metro division, there's only one team, and that's the Columbus Blue Jackets that have fewer points than Edmonton Oilers, but everybody else is in the 40s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you say, there's some great hockey out there.
Yeah, it's going on. Hockey's, yeah, it's exciting for almost every team because, like I said, there's so many great teams up there right now.
Right. Roger, thanks for coming in today.
Yep.
I love it coming in and talking sports with you, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, and go basketball, Big Red.
Yeah, all of it. I love it.
All right.
Thanks again. Go watch some sports.